On July 31st, 1989, in a handheld market dominated by simple, portable LCD-based games, Nintendo released the Game Boy, their very first handheld console in North America. The Game Boy was the brainchild of Gunpei Yokoi, one of Nintendo's creative producers and the creator of the company's previous handheld product, the Game & Watch. All of its games were released on cartridges, not unlike those seen in home consoles like the NES, allowing players to freely switch between games on a single system. Though the system had a small screen and a rather lackluster display, this actually became an asset during the so-called handheld console wars. While competitors like Sega's Game Gear had larger, more colorful displays and more technically advanced games, their battery life was also much shorter. These systems were also much more expensive than the Game Boy, which launched at just $90 US. The console was bundled with the massively popular Tetris, and other titles like Super Mario Land, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, and Donkey Kong Land cemented the Game Boy as a must-own. The system later found itself a phenomenon with the release of Pokémon Red and Blue. The Pokémon games took advantage of the Game Boy's unique hardware, allowing players to battle or trade with their friends with the use of a link cable. The Game Boy would eventually become a brand all of its own, with the slimmed-down version of the device called the Game Boy Pocket being released in 1996. An entirely new iteration of the handheld with twice the processing power, 3 times as much memory, and the ability to display color, aptly named the Game Boy Color, was released in 1998. And a 32-bit successor to the system called the Game Boy Advance was released in 2001. Commonly likened to the SNES in terms of ability, the Advance shares similar success to the original Game Boy, and was eventually upgraded even further with the backlit Game Boy Advance SP and the smaller Game Boy Micro. Though the brand was eventually retired in 2008, it was succeeded by the even more popular DS line, first released in 2004, which borrowed many of the design philosophies birthed from Gunpei Yokoi's Little Gray Brick. Well, that's all for today's episode, but come back next time and we'll see you again on another day in gaming history. And hey, my name is Lee. I run the channel Furst over on YouTube. If you want to know more about the guy who made the Game Boy, I actually made a video a little while back that you can check out by clicking right here.